All right, everybody, welcome back. Once again, we've got Pat Coleman, the executive editor of D3 Football. Pat, truly appreciate you taking the time again.
Sure thing.
Got a big weekend, huh? We got 4 games heading to the championship.
Yep, and it's a bit of an unusual looking quarterfinal setup for Division III. I think we talked in the first week about how many cross-regional matchups there were and how many teams might be putting airplanes in round 3 on the NCAA's dime. And we have 2 teams from the Empire 8, teams based in the East Coast, coming out to the Midwest to face teams in Minnesota and Wisconsin, and then a pretty traditional South region matchup between Hardin-Baylor and Wesley, and a kind of a traditional North region matchup as well with Mount Union and Wabash.
Tell me about, I see the Salsbury won their game in triple overtime.
Yeah, probably has to be the most exciting game of the first round, although to be honest with you, there were also 2 other games of the first round, of the last round is what I meant. And there were 2 other games where there were huge comebacks as well. Salsbury and Kane just going toe-to-toe there, and Salsbury made his 2-point conversion in the 3rd overtime, and Kane got Kane's 2-point conversion pass just a little bit high, and that's the way the game ended. Salsbury in the quarterfinals for the first time since the 1980s. This is a pretty big year for them, and we're seeing, what a triple option team can do when it can actually play defense and throw the ball with some respectability as well. So they're going to take that into Whitewater this week. Wisconsin Whitewater's won 40-some consecutive games in a row. That streak has now reached the point where I've officially lost count. I know it reached 40. It might be 40, 41 at this point. It's a lot of games. 2-time consecutive national champs. What are we, 12-0 this season at this point. So the deal for them, obviously, I mean, your audience knows better than I do how to defend the triple option, so I'm not going to talk too much about that. Obviously, the
Nick Saban couldn't stop it. I don't know anybody that can.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing, of course, is that Salsbury is going to be actually able to throw the ball a little bit too. So that'll be a different wrinkle. Whitewater's seen some running offenses in the past. Oshkosh in that conference has done it a little bit over the last couple of years. For years and years, Wisconsin River Falls was wishbone option. They were wholesale running the ball back when it was Adam Cowles at quarterback in the mid '90s. He's a guy who's now coaching Hudson High School in Hudson, Wisconsin. So Brian Borland, the defensive coordinator at Whitewater, and his crew have their hands full a little bit this week. At least they'll be getting a different look at from what they've seen the rest of the season here.
A big good one. All right, jump down to St. Thomas and St. John Fisher.
Yeah, so St. John Fisher is the other team from that Empire 8. So Empire 8 has 2 teams in the Elite 8, which is a big deal for them. Salsbury was new to the conference this year. They got added. The team needed to get back up above 7 teams to keep its automatic bid, and so they added Salsbury and Frostburg out of Maryland up to all these teams in upstate New York. That's where the Empire 8 name comes from, the Empire State. So it's a bit, they stretched out a little bit. St. John Fisher, would have won the conference.
Just like Division 1 realignment.
Yeah, exactly.
Big East teams are going to be in California, huh?
Yeah, except in this area, we're not chasing money; we're chasing an automatic bid. So
gotcha.
You got to have 7 teams to keep that bid, and that was a big deal. And there's a little bit of that in Division III. Yep. So St. John Fisher, they were the team that got kind of the surprise bid. They came in with 2 losses, but then pulled off 2 wins in the first and second round against undefeated teams, facing their 3rd consecutive undefeated team on the road. This is the first time St. John Fisher's ever been in an airplane to go to a football game, and they're coming out to St. Paul, Minnesota to play St. Thomas. St. Thomas, if you remember from previous weeks, still clicking on all cylinders on defense. They took the all-time leading passer in Division III last week in the second round, Alex Tanney from Monmouth in Illinois, and held him to 19-35, a lot of short passes, put him on his back 5 times. One of the worst games of Tanney's career, and it's because St. Thomas has just been so strong defensively all season. Monmouth had a respectable running game this season, for example, and they only ran for 4 yards last Saturday. So St. John Fisher, which runs a lot more, is going to be facing, I think, one of the strengths of the Tommy defense, especially Willie Barigi and the other guys at linebacker. Those guys are pretty good. And then, depending on who quarterbacks for St. John Fisher too. Remember, they're the team that lost its starting quarterback in the first half of the first round game against Johns Hopkins. Ahmed Hassanian has come in and throw the ball pretty well, and Paul Vosberg likes his chances with him, although they're playing it close to the vest as to which quarterback's going to start on Saturday. If they throw Yeah, if they throw Chinny Oji and the rest of the guys in the Tommy secondary are going to have, something to deal with. But Oji's pretty good, and Wally Kaczynski at the defensive coordinator at St. Thomas has done a good job with that defense this year. They've been spectacular. They really have been.
Yeah. All right, we're jumping up to the Mary Hardin-Baylor bracket with Wesley.
Yeah, so Mary Hardin-Baylor and Wesley. If for your followers who follow Division III closely, you think these guys pretty much have a home-and-home series set up at this point. They've faced each other 5 times in the playoffs since 2005. Last year was a quarterfinal game at Wesley's place. This year, Wesley got a lost in the early season to Kane, so they go on the road this time to face Mary Hardin-Baylor. Last year was a 19-9 quarterfinal win at home for Wesley, and this year things are a little bit different. They have their starting quarterback back. Shane McSweeney missed almost all of last year because of injury, and he ran for 179 yards, I believe it was, the last week in the second round win against Linfield. That's one of those comebacks I mentioned earlier. Linfield had the 27-7 lead in the second quarter. I believe took that into halftime, and then Wesley came out in the second half, scored 42 unanswered points, and went on to win that game, and that's why they're here now. So, both these teams have quarterbacks that like to run the ball. They're going to do it in completely different styles. Pete Fredenberg and the guys down at Mary Hardin-Baylor are going to run out of the eye as they have most of the season, and Wesley is more of a standard pro set offense, but McSweeney just likes to bring the ball down and run with it, and he's successful with it. So there's no reason to stop him from doing that now.
We got one more game. We got Mount Union and Wabash, huh?
Yeah, and this is the interesting coaching matchup because Eric Rayburn, the head coach at Wabash, played at Mount Union, was an assistant coach at Mount Union. He's actually Larry Karras's nephew. So Larry Karras, the Mount Union head coach, going against not only one of his proteges but one of his relatives. So it'd be an interesting matchup from that perspective. Wabash and Mount Union haven't faced each other since a 2002 playoff game. They narrowly missed each other a few years ago when Wabash lost to Capital, a conference rival of Mount Union, earlier in the playoffs. So Mount Union continues to struggle a little bit on offense. They haven't entirely put their offensive game together at this point this season. Matt Pilato is now pretty much entrenched as a starting quarterback with the injury earlier in the year to Neil Seaman, so he's still getting his legs underneath him. And Jeremy Murray, the running back, their number one running back, got just 6 carries last week. At this point in the season last year, he really wore down a little bit, so I'm thinking Karras is making the decision to try to take it a little bit easier on him this time around and see if he can get him through the final 3 weeks of the season if Mount Union advances that far. So on the Wabash side, if they're going to score against this incredible Mount Union defense, I think they're going to need some help from their special teams, and they've got Wes Chambly, the incredible kick returner and wide receiver for them. He's got an ability to, if not get them 6 on a return, at least put them in pretty good position to get some points that way. Good stuff.
Good stuff. Looking forward to the games, and looking forward to having you back next week. We'll go in depth on the 4 remaining teams.
Yep, sounds good. You were just it's hard to believe. I think it feels like we just started the season just a couple weeks ago, and now we only have 3 weeks left.
Literally does. All eyeballs on D3football.com on Saturday. Get the scores and highlights.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Pat. Thanks.